Okay. Sometimes also this is a term, lexical analysis is also known as a linear analysis. Okay. So this is a very first step, and as you know, depending on the programming language, we have to perform this lexical analysis. Let us start with it. Okay. So the very first thing is this thing. So there is a source program. Source program is given to the lexical analyzer phase. Okay. The lexical analyzer phase, what it does, it's from the program, it tries to generate various tokens. And those tokens are nothing but, let's say, it could be operator as a token or identifier as a token. Okay. Or it could be, function name or the variable name, operator. Okay. And many other things are the parts of the token. Okay. Punctuation marks, etc. So those, every token has certain category. Okay. So that token, particular token, is passed to the next phase, which is a syntax analysis or a parser phase. Okay, so you can see it's not a sequential process, but rather it is an interactive process. So what I can assume is that lexical analyzer creates a token and passes that token to the parser. Okay, and parser calls the lexical analyzer for the next token. So in future, you will also learn about YACC. What is a YACC? YACC is an automatic parser generator. Okay, just like Lex is a automatic scanner. Okay, tokenizer. Okay, so similarly, YACC, it is an automatic parser generator. So there also this concept will be used, that this is an interactive process. There you are going to write both the programs, the Lex program as well as the Y program. Okay. So what this parser does is it also calls for the next token from the lexical analyzer fields. So then lexical analyzer returns the next set of tokens, and this is an interactive process. As I mentioned earlier, the symbol table is going to appear everywhere. Okay, so lexical analyzer, once it finds a variable name, it inserts that variable name into a symbol table. Okay, similarly, parser has also something to do with the symbol table. So every phase inserts or takes something from the symbol table. Okay, so source program given to lexical analyzer, it creates a token, and that token is given to the parser, and parser's job is to check whether the sequence of tokens that is received are correct according to the grammar of the programming language or not. That is a syntax analysis. And you can see this is like token and get next token. So get next token is like a function which calls the or invokes this lexical analyzer. Yes, everybody, are you getting what I'm trying to say? Is this diagram clear? Yes, yes. Okay. So one very important thing to understand, can you correlate this to some well-known problem that you have studied? That lexical analyzer, and there is a syntax analyzer. Okay, lexical analyzer creates tokens and pass it to the syntax analyzer. Okay, and syntax analyzer demands for the token. So it is related to which problem that you have studied in the past? Let me give you the hint. In very correct, Rahil. Producer consumer problem. Okay, so lexical analyzer is like a producer, and the syntax analyzer is like a consumer. Okay, okay. So somebody will say, why to do it like a producer consumer manner? Can't I take one token and pass it to the syntax analyzer and then call for the next token? So for each token, this process should happen. If you do that, what would be the problem? That is also one way. Okay, but if you do that, the problem is the efficiency. The program efficiency will be reduced, and it will become little slower. So what generally happens is, the producer, which is the lexical analyzer, okay, produces the set of tokens, okay, and set of tokens, and they are stored into some buffer, okay. And then a consumer is what? The consumer is a parser, okay. It consumes the tokens which are generated from the buffer and do parsing, which means a syntax analysis, which again means that given a programming language grammar, whether that particular set of tokens, okay, are legal according to the grammatical rules or not. Okay, so that thing is checked. Again, when suppose the buffer is empty, then it can call, and producer will produce the tokens and give it to the consumer. So you know this very well, that producer has to produce the tokens, that is lexical analyzer has to first produce the tokens, then only the parser can work. Okay, once the buffer is empty, parser can invoke the lex and then can demand for the next set of tokens. Okay, so I hope you are getting the connection of this lex and scanner, sorry, lex and the parser with the producer and consumer. Yes or no? Everybody is getting this or not? Saloni, Harshit, yes? Okay, fine. Okay, fine. So now, so what are the tasks of lexical analyzer and parser? So there are various tasks that lexical analyzer is performing. So somebody says it's just a scanner. So you can say yes, it is a scanner. It scans the input and creates the tokens. In that sense, it is a scanner-like thing. But it is actually an intelligent scanner. Okay, so lexical analyzer is not only scanning the input, in addition to it does something, and that's why it is a scanner, but it is an intelligent type of scanner. Okay, so let us see how it is intelligent. Okay, it scans the input. So now what is this WS? Is a white space, new line, okay, those things which are not necessary. So now you will say why it is not necessary. Remember, white space and the new line characters, okay, generally white spaces are not very much useful in order to do the parsing. So definitely I have to scan the white space, but I will not create a token for that, or rather I will not pass that white space to the parsing phase, because for parsing phase, the importance of this white space or something like that is very low. And so it is okay to scan it, but not to create a tokens out of it. Okay, or even if you create a token, there is no importance of those tokens for the parsing phase, and that's why generally we just have to scan and need to ignore those things. So remember, white space, so this white space and blanks, okay, then new line characters, etc. are scanned, okay, and then most of the time their tokens are not written. So which particular things are tokenized? So generally the name of the variables, name of the functions, okay, those things, operators, punctuation marks, etc. Those things are very important, and those things are tokenized and given to the parser. Remember, with tokens are not alone. Remember, tokens are not always alone. Okay, they have certain properties. Okay, for example, if you have an identifier, so we just don't return the name of identifier, but in addition to identifier, okay, there is also a property, okay, or you can say attribute. That property or attribute would be the pointer, okay, to symbol table entry, okay, which defines that particular identifier. So for example, I have written integer ABC. So definitely this ABC is what? ABC is identifier. This is a name of a variable, so it is an identifier. But ABC is given a particular entry in the symbol table data structure. So the address of that or pointer to that entry is also uh, what you can say is an attribute of that identifier. So not only the particular variable is returned to the parser, its category or token is returned to the parser, but also we are also returning the symbol table entry pointer uh, to the parser. So generally we write like this: id comma 1. We have discussed this earlier also, where id is the name of the token. Id means identifier, which means generally what we believe, a letter followed by letter or digit, okay, is an identifier. For different programming languages it could be little bit different, okay, but this is the general meaning. And one indicates what? One is an attribute, okay, one is attribute. What does that one mean? One means it is a pointer to the symbol table entry. If it is a 5, that means it is in the 5th place in the symbol table. If first means it's a first place in the symbol table, that way. So similarly for different tokens, we also have different attributes that we need to return. So tokens are not always alone. In addition to token, we also pass the attributes related to token to the parser. Okay, so uh, so the task of lexical analyzer is to identify the tokens. Okay, uh, how to identify that we are going to see. It has to scan, and then according to the rules, it will find out what is the category of it. Okay, create the symbol table. What do you mean by create the symbol table? Because once you find the identifiers, identifiers are inserted into the symbol table. Symbol table has a one field called symbol. Okay, a symbol could be identifier. Okay, so this identifier are inserted by whom? It's a lexical analysis space which finds out the identifiers and inserts those identifiers finally into the symbol table. Okay, so creation of the symbol tables begins with this phase, that is lexical analysis phase. It's not alone that lexical analysis contributes. Okay, other phases are also contributing to create the entire symbol table. Okay. So the inserts the token into the symbol table, generates error. Okay, remember, this also generates an error. For example, if you have written integer a in place of integer space a, suppose you have written integer suppose like this. So what will happen is it starts scanning from I. It starts scanning from I. Okay, and then it sequentially goes to N, then T, then A until the white space occur. So once it finds the white space I N T A, okay, so it will try to find out the token for this category, that is I N T A. What do you think lexical analyzer will give what token to this INTA? INTA, will it identify? Very correct. So don't you think, Vishal, it will produce an error? Or will lexical analysis phase produce an error for this, or subsequent phase will produce the error for this? It's not correct actually, right? By mistake, subsequent phase. Why? Because INTA for lexical analyzer, it matches with what regular expression? It matches with the regular expression of the identifier. So INTA for lexical analysis is just a variable name or an identifier. Okay, so it will not be able to detect that INTA space I is not a valid thing. What it just does is this I for INTA, it will assign a token ID. Similarly, for I, it will assign the token ID. So both will be treated as identifier. But ID space ID, this is wrong. I cannot write this kind of thing. You can have a data type followed by variable name. That is correct. ID space ID is wrong. This will be detected by which phase? That this is wrong grammatically. Yes, anybody can tell me ID and ID together with just a space is wrong actually, and this is a rule, right? Parser phase, syntax analysis phase. Very correct. Okay, so parser will be able to detect that. So So what do you think, which type of errors that lexical analyzer can able to solve? We have already seen that this type of error, this is not in the scope of lexical analysis. This cannot be detected. It will pass the tokens and the subsequent phase will find the error. Although it is wrong, Lex will not be able to find out these errors. Okay. So, which type of errors? My question is that which type of errors are under the scope of lexical analysis? Are you getting my question? The question is clear, first of all. Okay. Yes. Okay. Fine. So, uh, so you know that entire lexical analyzer is based on regular expression. Okay, regular expressions. So you must have written the programs where you have written the regular expressions and written some actions. Okay, so you, whenever you give input, it tries to match that input with the regular expression. Am I saying correct or not? Harshit Saloni? Yes, whenever you write some input, okay, it tries to match it with the regular expressions that you have written, the rules that you have written, and then executes the corresponding actions. So what will happen if the remaining input that you are scanning, if the remaining input, okay, that you have doesn't match with any of regular expression. RE means regular expression. Okay, whatever the input that you are scanning, the remaining input that you up till now you have scanned something and created tokens perhaps, but whatever the remaining input is there, that remaining input doesn't match with any of the regular expression, because lexical analysis is nothing but a set of regular expressions are written for various programming constructs like identifier, operator, okay, white space and everything. Okay, but if it doesn't match with any of that regular expression, what do you think? Is it an error for, is it, can it be considered as an error for the lexical analyzer phase? Can it be, yes, yes, is saying correct. Yes, what about others? There are 85% approx. Jap, Shrey, Sahil. Okay, I hope you everybody is getting. Okay, fine. So what I am saying is this is actually an error. Why? Because you have designed the lexical analyzer and you included every possible case, right? Every possible cases you have included, so there is no error. But your input is such that it is not belongs to any of the token categories, right? That means it will not form a particular token. Okay. So, okay, there is a question. Will lexical analysis check for valid identifier names? For example, variable name should not start with digits. Yes, Jayesh, that is correct. That is what it tries to do. Because see, what is identifier? If you will learn in laboratory section, identifier is what? It's letter followed by letter or digit. Or means plus, I am writing, this is a regular expression, star. Okay, actually the things are little bit like last time somebody said me, right? Letter or underscore followed by letter or digit or underscore. So that means first cannot be digit. Are you getting this regular expression, Jayesh? What I am saying? First could be letter, that means A to Z, or underscore. Afterwards, it's a concatenation. Then it could be zero or more times. Star means zero or more times. I hope everybody knows this. Zero or more times uh, means star, right? What is plus? Plus means one or more times, right? Yes, I know. I hope you are knowing this. Everybody, star. Suppose yes. And what do you mean by question mark? Question mark means, suppose I write a, yes, 0 or 1, which means optional. Can I say optional? Vishal, Priyank, Yash? Yes, optional. right? Either you can take or you can also skip that. So if I write like this, A plus B question mark, which means if you want to skip this. Okay. If you want to take this, you can take either A or B. So that means the question mark. So now, Jayesh, is that clear? So what it this regular expression is implemented. Okay, this regular expression is implemented as part of lexical analyzer. So whenever you take an input which doesn't match with, suppose this is a variable name you are trying to write, like one ABC. So one ABC will not match any of the token categories. So when either it could be 1 1 or 1 2 3, it is correct. Okay, that is correct. Or if it is A1BC, that is also correct. But 1 followed by ABC is not correct because it is not matching with the regular expression that you have written. Okay, or it does not match with any of the regular expressions. For different programming language constructs, there are various regular expressions, but it does not match with any of that, and that's why it will produce error. Jayesh, is this clear now? Is the question answered? Yes. Okay. Fine. So generates error and definitely sends tokens to the parser. What is the responsibility of the parser? This yellow is little bit you don't know right now, but let me give you the hint. It performs the syntax analysis, means as I mentioned, the simplest thing is whenever I speak some sentence, your mind is constantly checking whether I am speaking correct English or not. Okay, so that is your syntax analyzer. But compiler has its own syntax analyzer, okay, which checks whether the things that you have written is proper or not. Okay, so actions dictated by token order. Okay, so order of tokens matter. Okay, update the symbol table entries, how that we will see. Okay, and finally generating syntax errors. Okay, and then more we will be seeing these things later. Okay, create abstract representation of the source. So in the previous lecture I told you that syntax tree kind of thing is created. So that is an abstract representation. Okay, abstract syntax tree or a tree kind of thing is created. Remember, out generally while studying the things, output of the parser phase is known as either you can say it a syntax tree or it could be also termed as a parse tree. Actually, both the things are different. That will be we'll see later on. Okay, but the thing which we have discussed last time was a syntax tree, where the root node is the intermediate nodes are operators and leaves are identifiers or the numbers. Those things are comes under the category of syntax tree. In parse tree, in addition to that, you have non-terminals and terminals. Okay, of context free grammar, that we will see when we study context free grammar and parsing. Okay, so this is the task of lexical analyzer and parser. Okay, so this already we have seen. Let me revise it. Why to separate lexical analysis from parsing? Why can't I combine these two things in one piece of code? The things is, the first thing is a software engineering reason that I already mentioned last time. Okay, that as modular the things, the better the I mean better you can handle the changes and everything, right? So modularity is required. Okay, so a simpler conceptual model I want, and that's why I separated these two things, lexical and parsing. Okay, you can see the description here which I have written. uh, let's say you have a parser that handles comments and white spaces. So say comments, white spaces, and everything comes under the umbrella of lexical analyzer. Okay, the removal of comments. Okay, you will, in fact, we'll study the program also in the laboratory section, how to remove the comments. Okay, from the program, because compiler does not see the comments. Okay, the white space removal. These are actually the tasks of lexical analyzer. Assume that it is also done by parser because it is combined. Then what will happen? It will increase the complexity. Okay. So rather than one burden of just checking syntax, okay, according to grammar, it has also an additional burden of checking the comments, extracting the or removing the comments and white spaces. Okay. So why is it so that it is difficult? Okay, it is a difficult thing because the parser, okay, we will see uses stack kind of thing. Why it uses a stack kind of thing? Because parser is actually kind of implementation of push down automata. Okay, or automata kind of thing is there. PDA, because context free grammar is there, you can have a one-to-one correspondence between context free grammar and PDA. Okay, so parser is kind of deterministic push down automata. So all of you are familiar that those push down automatas uses a stack as a data structure. So why to use a stack for the things which can be done without stack? Okay, that is one reason. Okay, that's why we just separate the responsibilities of lexical analyzer and parser. Okay, so unnecessary complications are reduced by this separation. Okay, the so similarly, because of that, efficiency will increase. So we will study today buffering techniques. So specialized buffering techniques for reading input character, because for compiler the entire program is just a character stream. Okay, so it has to load that entire program into something called a buffer, and for efficiency purpose we need to improve these things. Okay, so and also the last advantage is portability. Okay, so because input specific dependency is just a burden of lexical analyzer. So what is the input device, from where you are taking the input? Okay, and the token up to tokenization, everything, if it is a responsibility of lexical analysis, okay, syntax analyzer does not deal with that, and that causes its task much more simpler. Okay, think about that. Syntax analyzer also sees these restrictions like device specific anomalies and all those things. Okay, which is right now the job of lexical analyzer. If you combine it with the parser, implementation would be quite complicated. And so in addition to efficiency and simplicity, the portability will also increase. Okay, so because input specific details are just the job of lexical analyzer, not the job of syntax analyzer. So I can you reuse those things later on, and portability increases. Okay, I hope everybody got the reasons for the separations of these two things. Yes. Toy compiler, if you are making, then it's fine. Then you can do this together, because in projects sometimes people make toy compilers, okay, which works for some simpler cases. Then it is fine. It is okay to combine these two things. But actual compiler does this, okay, cooperatively, and the responsibilities are separated. Okay. Now these are the basic three concepts. Okay, what are the major terms for lexical analysis? Okay, the major terms are this. Okay, and those are tokens, pattern, and lexeme. So as you are already aware, the lexical analysis is related with that finite automata, and finite automata is related with the regular expressions, right? So every programming construct like identifier, numbers, etc. Okay, these are the tokens, right? Identifier, number. But how to define a number? For example, how to define a number? Number is a token, right? When you see like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 4 is a token. That is a constant, integer type of constant. Okay, but how one can decide that 1 to 4 is a token? So you see, it is a sequence of digits. What do you mean by digit? So you can see digit means a 0 to 9. This is a way to note down that digit is any character from 0 to 9, that is a digit, right? And then what is an integer number? Integer number is actually digit plus, digit plus, which means one or more occurrence of the digit. This is how you are writing in lex, right? So number you are defining like in bracket digit, in curly bracket digit. Okay, that digit could be 0 to 9, anything, and then plus means one or more occurrence of that. So this is how you define that. So this becomes a pattern. Okay, this is a pattern for number. Okay, so what is a pattern? Sequence of one or more digit. Okay, that becomes a number. So digit plus is actually a regular expression or a pattern for that. Okay, so the rule which characterize the set of strings for a token, okay, that means a pattern. Rule means a regular expression. For you it is a regular expression. Okay? Just like identifier rule I already mentioned, number means digit plus one or more digit. Okay, so that thing is a pattern. So there is a distinction between token and pattern. What is a token? Token means the categories like identifier, numbers, etc. And pattern means what regular expression, okay, defines that particular token category, which makes a pattern. Okay. Okay, so now I want you to write what would be the pattern or regular expression for floating point numbers. For floating point numbers, like I want to recognize this in lex 124.67. Okay, what rule I should write so that I can detect 124.67 entire thing as one token, and that is a floating number, floating constant. This is the name of a token, floating point constant. I want to recognize this. How you will write a rule, or how will you write a pattern for that? Any idea? This dot here is actually decimal point. Okay. Okay. Digit plus, very correct. Then dot. Yes, Nirali is also correct. Okay, you are correct. Digit star is a okay, Priyank. Both the ways star is not going to happen. Otherwise, dot also is the correct answer. Are you getting, Priyank, what I am saying? Yes. So both way generally, see, I can write like this 0.1234. This is correct. If you don't write anything before point, that is correct. So, but just a dot is not a number. Is not a number. So that should not be included. So yes, your answers are, I mean, very nearer. Okay. But what I want to say, if you want to write a general, then yes, Nirali has included slash and then dot. Can you explain, Nirali, why you have included that backslash and then dot? What is the meaning of that? Dot means match any. Yes, dot means match any. Yes, very correct. But yes, so I should not write simple dot. Yes, very correct. Simple dot has a simple dot. Okay, if you write a simple dot in lex, okay, which means what? Which means anything. Okay, anything except what? Anything. Anything which is of one character except new line. Very correct. So dot means anything but not a new line. Okay, anything but not new line. Okay, so if you write simple dot, it will match with any character. Okay, so in that case, if you have written 123a, okay, 456, it will is also going to be correct if you just write dot, because this a will match with the dot. Are you getting what I'm trying to say? Vishal, Hena, Hardik. Yes, and that's why what I should write is escapes. That means backslash and dot, which means exactly you are trying to match with dot. So whenever if you are using some inbuilt things, then you know, okay, that you have to put escape sequence like this. And so yes, so I think what you have written is digit star, okay, then backslash dot, and then digit plus, which would be a good thing, right? Is it correct or not? What do you think? Digit star, then backslash dot, and then digit plus. Is it correct? Now I think it will include all these possibilities, like 0.123 is also correct, 6.023 is also correct. Yes or no? Rishil, yes. Okay, okay. So this is what, now this is what is a pattern. Remember, token name is floating constant, but this is the pattern, regular expression. So what is a lexeme? Lexeme means actual sequence of characters that matches with the pattern is called a. Okay. For example, if you are having identifier as a token, then X is a lexeme, count is a valid lexeme, name is a valid lexeme. Okay. So, for example, identifier is a token. Then what are the lexemes of identifier? Like A, B, ABC, A1. So all the things, infinite things, right? Which are correct variable names are the valid lexemes of that. Okay. Now you would say operator. For operator, what is the pattern? For example, operator is plus, minus, etc. Multiplication. Can I say for operator the pattern is these characters themselves? Yes. So I should write like this: operator is equal to like if I want to include plus, star, okay, then minus, etc. Should I write like this or not? This is itself a pattern, okay? It's and these are itself the lexemes also. Okay, when these patterns and lexemes are different, but in case of identifiers, in case of numbers, pattern and lexemes, okay, are, I mean, there are many lexemes for one pattern. But sometimes what happens is like an operator, the pattern is, the plus is itself a pattern for operator. Star is itself a pattern for operator. So there is no distinction between the pattern and the lexeme. Are you getting what I'm trying to say or not? Yes. Okay. So in one word, what I'm trying to say, what is a lexeme? The set of strings which match with the pattern is called the lexemes. Okay. So for example, the expression, so 123.4 is one lexeme, 6.023 is another lexeme, 0.567 is another lexeme. These all are the lexemes which belongs to which token? Floating point constant. So token, what is a token? If you are talking about token, it is a floating constant. That could be the name of the token. Pattern, that I have written the regular expression that I mentioned earlier. And these all are the lexemes. These all are the lexemes, like 123.5, 6.023. These are called the lexemes. Basically, those are the things which are identified by those patterns. Okay, so I hope this all three concepts, pattern, uh, no, Rishit. Even if you write in pattern directly plus, it would be okay. Okay, and one thing I want to tell: don't write like this plus this and this. This is not going to work. Uh, uh, why? Can somebody can tell me? Because range, very correct. It is like A to Z. So plus is a character has some ASCII value, right? And similarly, star is having some ASCII value, right? And so what do this plus dash star, which means a set of all characters whose ASCII value fall between this plus to star, and that's why you should not use this notation. Are you getting others? Yes. Yes, yes, okay. So rather than writing like that, what you should use, either you can put that those range kind of things like minus operator at the end, or you can put a backslash, or like this as Vishal has written. Okay, but Rishil, it is not compulsory to put the that backslash before every character. Are you getting what I'm saying? Yes. Okay. And I think you should check it experimentally. Okay, then it will be more clear. So so uh, these are the examples, like token is constant. Okay, the sample lexemes are an informal description. So like if this this is one token, right? Const is a keyword, right? So for keywords, the lexeme is also that keyword, and the pattern is also that. Okay, for example, for integer, there is no pattern kind of thing. The pattern is like I followed by uh, n followed by t. So this is a pattern. If you are getting I followed by N followed by T and then space, and then definitely space, okay, then you can say INT is a token, and this is a token. It is also a lexeme. I mean, token is a keyword for lexeme is INT, and pattern is also INT. Okay, pattern is also INT. So for keywords, the lexemes and patterns are the same thing. Okay, first it should be I, then it should be N, then it should be T, followed by a space. Remember, I am saying forcefully the space, because unless I and T is a keyword, right? This is a keyword. But if you add something to it, INTO is not a keyword. Is not a keyword. So I must have a space. Okay, so I have to look ahead. Remember, this is very important. I have to look ahead and see the next set of characters, and then I need to decide what is the token. Without this look ahead, it is not possible to determine the tokens. What is the simplest example? Okay, for example, I have written integer ABC is equal to 13. So you know int, then there is a space. That means int is what is the token of that keyword. Then after space, there is a new thing ABC. But then there is an equals to. So ABC becomes an identifier. Then it equals to, that is an operator. Then 1, 3, that becomes a constant number, integer constant. Okay. So how this somebody can realize that ABC is uh, the ABC is identifier? For that, I need to go ahead and I have to also see equals to. Once I say C equals to, I can say the group of things A, B, C, starting from A, B, C. Okay, that makes a token. Am I saying correct or not? Are you getting what I am saying? Unless you C equals to, you will not be able to programmatically categorize that ABC is one token. I should first see the next thing, and then after seeing a different thing like equals to, like semicolon, or like space, then I will be able to understand that ABC makes an identifier in this example. Yes, Rahil, Nitant, are you getting what I am saying? Yes. So remember, that's why I am saying the job of lexical analysis is not that simple. Many times I have to do look ahead. Remember this concept, look ahead is very important. Many times I need to go ahead in the stream, okay, and not just by one characters, many characters sometimes, and then I can find out the token. Okay, otherwise I will not be able to find out the proper tokens, or I will not be able to do proper tokenization. Okay, so remember const is a keyword, so the sample lexeme, token and pattern all are same, just like if is a keyword, so that's why they are all same. Okay, operators, relational operator like less than, equal to, this is not equals to, remember this is not equals to, greater than, equal to. This has itself a lexemes also and patterns. But identifier is a token. The sample lexemes are variable names. And the description is letter followed by letters and digits. Number is a token name. These are all the lexemes like 3.14. and any numeric constant comes under. This is an informal description of the fact. Okay, then you must be knowing about literals. Yes, anybody can define what is a literal? What do you mean by literals? You must have studied this, right? String literals or something like that. So this is a literal, and this is, you can see in double quotes there is something core dumped, core space dumped. So any character between this double quotes, okay, this and this, okay, except these two characters, okay, except you should not have repeatedly this double quotes coming in between, so that would form a literal. Are you getting what is written? Anything between this and this, but it should not be, I mean, again these things, okay, so that would be the literal. So remember, identifier, numbers, literals, but for operators and keywords the lexemes patterns are same, okay, and description is like trivial description. So now, okay, this is an example given to you. This is from the book, okay, and anybody, so I give you 1 minute of time, okay, find out how many tokens are there, how many tokens are there. So if you scan from this is a function float limited square, argument is x, okay, this is a comment, comment is extracted and removed by the compiler, lex analyzer phase, and this is a keyword return, and this is some expression, okay, and these braces and everything are there, okay. Remember, these are called punctuation marks, right? Braces and punctuation marks like semicolon, this colon, and okay. So how many tokens are there? Can you tell me? First is this, float is one token. Then limited square. Float is a token. Float, what would be the category of that token? Float is what? Float is a token. What will be the name? Keyword. Okay. Then limited square. Limited square. What would be the category of that token? Limited square. Identifier. Very correct. Then can you say this opening parenthesis and is a token? Is it token or not? After, yes, very correct. Opening parenthesis is token. X is also identifier. Okay, it's a variable name or some parameter name. Then closing parenthesis is also token. Similarly, float, keyword. Space we ignore, okay, because I already told you space is found, but after I detect the space, I don't create tokens out of that. You can if you wish, okay. X is identifier, semicolon is punctuation mark, okay. This is comment and will be removed. So you can write a regular expression to extract the comments from the program. So it you find the comments and you remove these comments from the program. Okay, that type of Lex program is possible. Return is again a keyword. Again, this is then X. Then this is a relational operator. Minus 10.0 is again a signed number. Minus is there. Again, this is an operator. Okay, this is relational operator. So you can see these are the tokens. I hope you can see. Okay, starting from float. Float, this how, so in exam if you are asked this kind of thing, you have to write it like this. Float is trivial. ID, so limited square is an identifier, okay. Okay, then opening parenthesis, X is ID, closing parenthesis, curly bracket opening, float, ID X, okay, semicolon, okay, you can also write semicolon if you wish, okay. Then return, see comment is not shown because comment is believed to be removed by the compiler phase, okay. So return, and then again all those things, you can see this is an operator. Similarly, question mark is an operator, okay, ternary operator. Then these things are operator, star and everything. Okay, so you can also include those things like semicolon, which is missing here after this X. Okay, you can put it like this. Yes, everybody clear with the example of the entire function? Hardik, Yash, Priyank, Saloni, Jayesh. Yes? Yes, fine. Okay. So now I want to tell you that one thing, attributes for tokens. Tokens influence parsing decisions. Okay. Many a times we also associate attributes for tokens. Why? Because they affect parsing decisions. The things will be more clear when we study parsing algorithms. The attributes influence the translation of tokens. Okay, so many times in addition to identifier, we also pass pointer to the symbol table entry for E, because E is the identifier. I also pass this. So you can see this thing is an attribute which I am highlighting. Pointer to the symbol table is an attribute. Similarly, M is there. Now you see this is a operator in some programming languages. Star star makes an exponent operator. Okay, just a one star is a multiplication operator, but star star is an exponent operator. Okay, and then 2 is an integer number. So this is how you can write the tokens. E is identifier equals to operator, M is identifier, star is operator, C is identifier, double star is also exponent operator. So their categories are different, and 2 is the number constant. Okay, so tell me, suppose I have seen the input A star, A and then star I have seen. This is my input. Should I automatically now say that after seeing the star that the token is a multiplication operator? Are you getting my question? I have seen my input is A, then star. After seeing star, yes, it can be star star. Okay, Rahil. So to resolve this issue, what I have to do? So to look ahead, very correct. We have to go ahead and finally, once I have sufficient information to resolve this ambiguities, then I should say that this is the token. Otherwise, I should not say that this is a token. Same way for less than, right? Just by looking at less than, I should not say this is a less than operator. Okay, by because it could be less than equals to. You have to see the next character. It can be less than equal to. Okay, so remember, look ahead is a very important thing as far as the lexical analysis is concerned, and that makes the things complicated. Remember, okay. Uh, so and one more thing. Okay, so just last thing. Okay, handling lexical errors. Okay, so I already told you when, in what situation errors will occur, lexical errors. So you see the description, lexical analyzer is unable to proceed because none of the patterns for the tokens, patterns means regular expression, matches a prefix of the remaining input. Okay, so remember, this is important. Okay, so for example, suppose I write like this: C is equal to A, then plus 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 kind of thing. So you know it is not correct, but lexical analyzer will not just give you stopping criteria at just this. First, it will say identifier is C. C is identifier; it will be extracted. Then equals to is operator; it will find it. Then A is identifier; that is also going to be checked after seeing plus. But then plus 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 many times. Will it match with any of the rule of the C programming language? Plus 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 will it match with any of the programming language rule? No. Okay, it doesn't match. If it is 2 times plus, will it match? If it is 2 times plus, will it match? Yes. But if it is 3 or more times plus, it will not match. So remember, what happened is that lexical analyzer is unable to proceed because none of the patterns for tokens match the prefix of the remaining input. So here the remaining input is this, right? Plus, 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 plus. Okay. So this is not matching. The prefix of this, okay, is not matching with any of the input. Just plus will match, plus plus will match, but then 3 plus will not match. Okay, this will not match. And so this is a possible candidate of lexical error. So it will throw an error, and this is a lexical error. Okay. So we will see there are ways to recover this. Okay, compiler actually does the recovery. One very important thing I wanted to tell you is error detection is just not sufficient for compiler. Error detection and recovery, both are important. Both are important. Okay. So yes, Priyank, if you have any question, then you can ask. Yes, yes. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. So Priyank, for that you have to write a code or patterns in such a way that yes. So if you have written plus and plus plus both as part of for definition, then up to plus plus it will match. But then remaining input is all plus 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 plus. So 3 times plus will not match. And there is no rule like there is 2 times plus, then it should be something like comma, like if you have like this, it should be c equal to a plus plus, then if there is generally a semicolon, right? Or probably it is a plus plus or plus like b plus plus, something like this. Okay. So there should be some systematic rule for saying this. I mean, so this is illegal. C is equal to a plus 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 b plus plus. Okay, but like 5 times plus is not going to match anyways with any of the programming construct. Yes, I hope that is clear. Others, you are getting what I'm trying to say? Others are, yes, yes. So the question is, okay, okay, fine. Uh, so let me address the question, then we will leave. Okay. How lexical analyzer will identify a pointer or pointer to pointer? Yes, Jeet, that we will see that there are 2 pointers that are maintained, that is begin pointer and forward pointer. So so once it starts the tokenization, it makes a pointer to the beginning of the token, and unless it finds a different thing, it starts scanning and putting other pointer called forward pointer, and the things between the beginning pointer and forward pointer will make a token. Okay, that scheme that we will see in the next lecture. Okay, Vishal is saying it can still generate plus plus tokens. Consecutive plus plus tokens are wrong. That will be detected during syntax analysis. Very correct. So Vishal, what I wanted to say, so that all depends on how you formulate your regular expressions and how you formulate your syntax analyzer rules. Okay, many things depends on how you write a lexical analyzer and parser. But sometime by some way you have to, I mean, detect this that this is a wrong thing. Are you getting, Vishal, what I am saying? Yes. Okay, you are correct. So it depends on implementation many times. Okay, so with this I end the lecture. In the next lecture, I will address the question of G, how these things are maintained with efficiency. Okay. Uh, okay, thank you so much. Okay, with this I end the lecture.